but you can't understand it until you listen to the whole story, you know? Like that was always the thing that really messed with me about like lessons. It's like my dad always used to try and like tell me a lesson. He'd be like, "Never do this." And I'd be like, "Well, I respect that you know that and you've had 2 decades more than I have, 4 decades more than I have to think about that. But you can't just like say that and then expect me to be like, yeah, totally. You know, that sounds right. Like, I feel like you have to learn most lessons for yourself or by reading a crap ton about it so that you can like see how they came to that. Oh, you can do
Are
clips
you
in
talking
Marvel.
about drugs?
That's not, no.
Drugs are bad. You shouldn't do drugs. Okay, that about wraps up my introduction.
I was talking about like sales. Like my dad was like, never call somebody more than 3 times for a sale or something. And I was like, maybe that's true. I don't know. I feel like I need to find that one out for myself or like, process some information.
Yeah.
You're just like, well, my whole life I learned this lesson. So if you don't think it's true, then you're wrong. And I was like, yeah, maybe or not.
Maybe
Yeah.
not. Yeah, it's yeah. You gotta try stuff. You gotta fail yourself. I'm thinking about this with my daughter as well. I mean, I can tell her as often as I want to. For example, not put her hand on the stove. She will do it at some point. Um, with everything, people gotta try it and
Yeah.
fail themselves. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, it's humanity. We have to just kind of
Yeah.
mess crap up, and so I think that's the
Yep.
big thing. Is like a lot of the time when people ask me for advice, they're like, "Oh, do you think this is a good business idea?" Or, "Oh, do you think I should sell this?" Or, "Do you think people will buy this?" Blah blah blah. I'm like, I have a guess, but screw me, you find out. Like, I might be wrong. B, I can tell you this and it can be really demoralizing, but if you go learn it yourself, it'll be like a serious lesson for you, as opposed to like a piece of advice. Advice is other people's lessons that you might not agree with. And,
Yeah.
like just go learn, like go figure it out for yourself
Yeah.
kind of thing. Like take the advice and then say like, okay, I could come out of this with one of 5 opinions. Let's figure out where I'm going to land.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think in general, like most advice is garbage, including this advice.
I try to filter advice by the people who are where I want to go, and they give advice about getting there. This is the most valuable to me. A lot of times you get advice from people that are like they are not even remotely attached to the journey that you are trying to do and give you their opinion, which is okay, but it doesn't really add any value to it because they have no experience in that area. It's just an opinion, and everyone has that. It's quite cheap.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would try that specifically because I'm in a very unconventional path. I think, in Germany, everyone is like, you got to work hard, you got to get your grades, you got to go to university, you got to have your degrees on every stage, and then get your job at big auto manufacturer ABC. And I don't have any degree. People told me I will not get any jobs, specifically not management jobs. And then I went in, like my wife's the same. Like she worked on visual effects for like Game of Thrones and Netflix shows and things like that. It's like huge stuff. Also doesn't have a degree. So we are really not in a couple that resembles the educational system that Germany wants us to have.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very like a path that not a lot of people go, and it makes things, of course, more risky. But it also, I think, shows at least us that you can achieve in a non-traditional way, and there is no harm in like if you don't have a degree, for example, that tells you what you can do in the age of the internet, where you can just go out and prove what you can do. Even without the internet, you could do that. But you have to start from the bottom. You have to get your hands dirty, or be willing to get your hands dirty and prove yourself over and over again. But at some point, it's fine. And today I feel like I don't have a disadvantage compared to people in my age that have a degree at all. But this wasn't the case always, of course. But yeah, in this non-traditional way, or doing stuff in a non-traditional way, I think it makes people stronger, because if you have someone that did the whole degree stuff and they are like, for example, this guy is a mechanic. Okay, that's his title for life. You're a mechanic, and if they lose a mechanic job and there are no other mechanic jobs, then he thinks he's screwed. Like what would I do? But if your skill is not you're a mechanic, if your skill is you get good at something, charge for it, make a living out of it, you can do whatever the hell you want. You can take away things from someone and he or she just builds it up again. And this, I think, is much more valuable. So for example, I don't have any fear of job loss. If I would lose my job at Stripe and nobody would hire me in the tech industry, that's all right. I would go and be a bartender and maybe sometime open my own bar or whatever it is. Or maybe I start Twitch streaming like you do. Yeah.
It's I super relate to this because now I do marketing consulting and I studied computer science. It's like, what right do I have to do marketing? Like, well, for like 2 or 3 years, I told people I was doing marketing and I tried to do marketing and I failed at doing marketing. And now somebody pays me to do it. Too much money for too little time. So am I a marketer now? But yeah, I think this is also probably a privilege of perhaps like the way that we are. Like, I don't know that I could go be like a welder or something, but it's probably possible. I don't know. This one always messes with me.
Wait, I have to Google that. What's a welder?
Oh, welder is like people who like put two pieces of metal together.
Put metals together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's how do I put this? I don't like the idea of careers anymore. It feels like a fake word in my life. But I don't think that's true for everyone else. And I struggle with this one because there's always one that I worry where I'm like, I really feel like my experience might not be what other people have. Like I think a lot of people don't have the privilege of being able, like being a mechanic might just be all that guy knows, and might be the only thing that he can really enjoy, and I think that we are sort of malleable. And that is kind of what starts to make us like entrepreneurs is we like can do these things. We do think this way. And we have the resources in some way, shape, or form. Like you said, if you lost your job at Stripe, you could get another one, work on your project. Like there's worlds that we can walk into that I don't think it's true for everybody. But because we have that safety net, the malleability like goes on and on and on. Like it doubles down. And so it's like now I can just do fucking marketing because I said so, I guess, right? And it's like if I want to go back and work at Facebook again, I can go back and work at Facebook again, and if I want to do Twitch streams, I guess I can kind of do this. If I want to be a pro gamer, I guess, right? Most of it can happen. But I've often thought, like, I studied game development, and I was like, people are like, oh, but you don't make games, so like, did you just not like it? And I'm like, who said I'm not going to make a game? There's time, one day I think I will. It's just not today. It's probably not for a while. But one day, I probably will, because I flippin' love video games, and nothing's going to change that. And that concept feels so good to me, because it feels like a much more fulfilled life. But I don't know that everybody could do that.
I mean, changing what you love to do, or, passions move. Like there are decades there is a decade where you, I don't know, are passionate about gaming, then there might be one about something else, and the freedom to pursue that is, I mean, I think that's what we should be taught in school, both, follow the passions, but also follow through, so you are able to build up an asset, build something up that feeds your family. Because if you just like switch everything every week, then of course nothing comes out of it. You have to put the effort in. But I agree with you that deciding when in your 20s what you want to do the rest of your life is just stupid. Like this
is a bad call.
Yeah. But it's so common, at least in Germany.
Well, yeah, I mean, no, that's how the world works. To be fair, like that's how you get people who are really, really good at things, right? Somebody somewhere needs to be super, super good at something to be like, like head of that thing in like a lot of worlds, like you probably like law, for example, or like medicine, or like worlds where like, okay, yeah, you can't step in and out of those. Like you just have to study. And so I think that there's a world where we need those people. But I think that for a lot of other stuff, you just don't need to be that way. I think that for a lot of other stuff, you really can be more flexible.
The important part for me is not that we don't need this or that this is not something to strive for. It's that it shouldn't be the default of you have to do it. Like you have to decide what you want to do and you are not allowed to do anything else. If I would, for example, let's take a job that I'm not qualified for right now and doesn't need any legal things like a doctor or something. Let's say, for example, marketing or sales. I have no experience in that. I have no degree. I've never worked in a position to do that. But I would still be comfortable starting, getting into the topic, learning what I can online. All the information is free and available. I would say within 6 months, I'm quite comfortable that I would get a job somewhere and then work my way up. But I would have to start at the bottom again. But as you mentioned before, I think this mindset and you can basically do anything when you put your mind on it. This is the safety net that a lot of people need. Not financial, not this and that, but the safety net that you are comfortable starting from scratch, from something you have no idea about, and work yourself up. And then you only need a few months. I mean, for Tresor one of our best coders, or we don't have a lot, but he started programming a year ago in a boot camp. Before that, he was a musician. So he's not very experienced, but he's highly talented. It's crazy. And I think this is something anyone can do. And I think the pandemic forced a lot of people to think about this.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting concept. I think it is. I really like the way that you said that it's more of the safety net is the mindset. Like that's a big one. That's really interesting. I still think, unfortunately, there's going to be that monetary where it's like you said, like if you focused on it for 3 months, 6 months, you could probably get something in marketing, get something in sales. And then the question is, well, what if you never have 3 months? What if you never have 6 months? But then it probably becomes one of those, okay, well, maybe it takes you a year, maybe it takes you a year and a half, and you do it part-time. You're proof that works, and that you can, in fact, do things on the outside. But yeah, it's a tough game, but I do think that's, if I were to redesign an ideal world and an ideal system, that is definitely what I'd want people to feel like they could do, is believing that they can do anything, and therefore, by believing in it, becoming capable of it, you know?
Yeah, I think that's something where, for example, the US culture is a bit ahead of the European one, at least for Germany. In Germany, it's always like the system where you have to be in. Nobody teaches you how to create a company, you know, how to, like, what you don't learn this. You have to go it yourself. And I think there is thought behind that. It's intentional to do that. And I think in the US, there is a lot more entrepreneurial spirit to just try and build your own thing. And, you know, everyone can do it if they put hard work in. So this American dream type of thing. So I think people are more encouraged to try stuff out, start their own thing in the US. I don't have a lot of other countries to compare to, but yeah. Yeah,
I think we're getting there. I remember some statistic of like something like 70% of people, or like 70% of high school kids now want to start their own business, which is crazy stat. But it's kind of nice. It's cool to think about, but also like, oh God, you know, we gotta get in and get out fast, man. We gotta make the money before all these kids come up, because they know how to do TikTok, and I don't know how to do TikTok, man. Oh, we're gonna be screwed.
Look, Alina wrote, studied automotive engineering, graduated, worked for 4 months as engineer, discovered HTML, CSS, Flash, and never looked back. That's amazing, and it's also great to have the last Flash developer here or live on stream. Never thought I would meet you.
A living legend.
Amazing.
God, dude.